So in a previous video, we took a look at audio mixers and all the amazing features and functions that they have, especially if you're doing event streaming. But mixers are kind of big, and what if you live like in a dorm or something, or you don't have a lot of desk space, or you're just streaming yourself? Well, in that case, you should take a look at audio interface devices. And in this video, Stream Tech, that's where we're going to take a look at specifically the Focusrite Scarlett line. Now, most people are familiar with the 2 input, 2 output version, but we're going to take a look at its bigger brother, the 6 input, 6 output, and show you how this opens up a whole realm of possibilities for streaming at home. So I just want to say that this video isn't sponsored by Focusrite. It's sponsored by my job and that urge to buy stuff at 3 a.m. when I really don't need it. That being said, there are affiliate links that will help this channel if you purchase from them, if you decide that this is for you. So if you look at the Focusrite next to the Yamaha mixer here, you can see that the Focusrite is far smaller than the Yamaha mixer. Now, if we take a look at the front of the Focusrite, there's 2 XLR inputs, and these can be supplied with phantom power. So if you're using like a condenser mic or a mic with the cloud lifter. There's also 2 headphone outputs, and these have fairly high impedance, so you can use them with a wide variety of headphones. You just might have to crank up the gain a bit. So on the back of the Focusrite, you can see there's more inputs and outputs, and they're 1/4 inch. And there's also this SPDIF input and output. Also, the Focusrite 6 input version has its own power supply. So I've seen some people in the past have problems with the 2 input, where maybe it doesn't draw enough power via USB. So the key difference between the 2 input and the 6 input Focusrites is that with the 6 input and above, it comes with an app called Focusrite Control. And this works on Windows or Mac, and it even has an iOS app. And this allows you to route and set audio levels. So let's go into the audio levels and audio routing that I do for my streaming configuration. So if you're using a 2 PC setup, I personally like to connect my Focusrite to the gaming PC. That way I can just set Focusrite as a microphone input in like Discord or any kind of chat software. And this really streamlines my audio workflow so that I don't have to worry about making different mixes so that it goes into line in, so that they don't hear the gameplay sound. Just set your microphone in Discord as the Focusrite microphone. So an important setting to check is to go into your Windows sound settings and make sure the Focusrite is set as the default recording and playback device. Otherwise, routing audio gets really difficult. Then open up Focusrite Control. And on this tab here, this is where we're going to set the levels for what you hear in your headphones. So on input 1 or 2, this should be your microphone input. Now you can adjust the levels here. If you don't want to hear yourself, click mute. Why you wouldn't want to hear yourself, that's for a different video. And then on inputs 3 or 4, this should be where you're routing audio if you split out from your console audio, so you can adjust those levels there. And this software playback section, this is actually the playback audio from your PC. So when you want to hear your gameplay or your music or your voice chat, you're going to adjust that setting there. So we're going to click on here, and this outputs for the 3-4 outputs on the back of the Focusrite. And usually what you do is you send this to your streaming PC and you plug it in the line in port, or if you're just streaming on the same PC, plug it into the line in port there. And this is where you're going to set the levels for the streaming audience. So generally what you do is you're going to want to lower the console volume or the PC game volume because you want them to be able to hear your voice a bit more clearly instead of kind of fighting with each other. And then in your streaming software, set the line in input as the microphone device. And if you're streaming on the same PC, make sure to mute your system sound audio. So if you have an iPad or iOS device, I recommend installing the Focusrite Control app because you don't want to keep alt-tabbing out of your games if you want to change levels. Also, when you have your settings right, I recommend saving a snapshot just in case you have to reinstall or move to a different computer. So another handy feature for setting your mic levels in the Focusrite is that the gain knobs on the front, they light up. So if they ever turn red, that means your audio is clipping or peaking, and you want to make sure to turn that down. So the Focusrite's great for mixing and routing audio. It has a small footprint and it isn't too expensive, but what are the cons? Well, the first con is that even with the iOS app and the desktop app, it's just not the same as having actual physical sliders and knobs to adjust audio. So if you're thinking you're going to use the Focusrite as a replacement for a mixer in an event, don't do it because when you need to quickly switch audio, you just won't be able to do it fumbling with these apps. So one potential big deal breaker with the Focusrite is that sometimes you get these weird pops and clips, and this is regardless if your audio is peaking or not. If you've seen my previous video, sometimes you see the audio just pops. Part 1 intro, and I checked and I was not peaking. Like the rest of the audio was normal volume, it would just pop out of nowhere. I've tried the latest firmware, all the updates. I've seen other users report this. Now for streaming, it doesn't bother me too much because it's really inconsistent and I don't think people really notice it or they haven't mentioned it. But if you're doing something like with sustained audio recording, like a podcast or an audiobook, this might be a deal breaker for you. Still, for me, this is the best audio solution considering the space that I have. My wife doesn't want gear spread all across our living room. But let me know what your mixer of choice is for streaming, and let me know if you've encountered that popping issue as well in the comments, or if you've had any fixes or solutions. Now, if you're curious about my video about the bigger mixers, I'll have it floating by my head somewhere else. If you want to see what my latest video is, it'll be floating by my head somewhere else, and it might be weird because it might be this video. Anyway, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next Stream Tech.